What if I told you that your silence isn't emptiness? It's presence. That the very things you were made to feel ashamed of, your depth, your stillness, your craving for solitude, are actually the marks of something profound, something ancient, something powerful. You've spent years wondering why you feel everything before it happens, why loud rooms make your soul ache, why small talk leaves you starving. The truth is, you were never meant to skim the surface. You were built to dive into the depths. You weren't made to fit into this fast, loud, noisy world. You were made to listen between the lines, to feel the tension behind the smiles, to hear the emotion in the silence. You're not broken. You're attuned. You're not awkward. You're awake in a world that's asleep. Carl Jung didn't see this as weakness. He saw it as vision, a deep, intuitive mind that sees through illusion and into essence. You're not just here to exist. You're here to read the code beneath reality. You've always sensed things others miss, subtle glances, shifts in energy, the words left unspoken. And while they call it overthinking, you know it's something else entirely. It's perception, it's pattern, it's truth. You walk through the world like a mirror, reflecting what people try to hide. You're called intense, not because you are too much, but because they aren't used to someone who won't play pretend. You don't do shallow waters, you dive in. You always have. That's your curse, that's your gift. You felt different because you are. You felt like a stranger in the noise because you are a keeper of silence. And when you walk away from the crowd, it's not rejection, it's alignment. Because solitude doesn't drain you, it restores you. You're not avoiding people. You're protecting your peace. In a world chasing applause, you're chasing meaning. While they seek approval, you seek resonance. That quiet space you slip into when you're alone, that's not emptiness, it's your source. That's where your clarity lives. That's where your visions are born. You're not escaping reality. You're crafting it from within. While others scroll endlessly for connection, you sit with your soul until it whispers something real. You've never needed the noise to feel alive. You've always found power in stillness. You could sit in a room full of people and feel a mile away, not because you're distant, but because you're tuned into something deeper, something they've forgotten how to touch. And here's what makes you rare. You don't just feel, you see. You don't just live in the world. You read it like scripture. You notice details no one else catches, predict moves no one else saw coming. Your mind doesn't just wander, it maps. You don't just listen to words, you hear intention. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. Your silence carries weight. Your presence speaks louder than performance ever could. You exist between two worlds, the world as it is and the one you're building inside. While others react, you anticipate. While others speak, you observe. While others move fast, you move with purpose. You're not just watching life go by. You're building it, moment by moment, from the inside out. There's something ancient in you, something that doesn't match the pace of this world. You feel like you were born out of time, like your soul remembers things your mind can't explain. You've always been drawn to the sacred, the symbolic, the meaningful. A lyric, a glance, a moment of stillness. These are the things that touch you more than anything trending. You've always asked questions that scared the room quiet. Why do people pretend? Why does it feel like no one really sees each other? Why do I feel everything so much? That's not overthinking. That's remembering. You carry wisdom that was never taught. You carry knowing that was never given. You didn't choose to feel this deeply. It's how you were wired. It's lonely sometimes. Truth like yours always is. But don't trade your depth for acceptance. Don't shrink to be digestible. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs what you carry. Truth without a filter, presence without performance, depth without apology. And here's the thing they'll never fully understand. You don't need to be seen to feel whole. You don't need to be followed to feel valid. Your power is magnetic because it doesn't try. It just is. You walk into a room and shift the atmosphere, not with volume, but with energy. You don't chase attention. It just knows where to go. You are not strange. You are rare. You are not broken. You are tuned. You are not too much. You are exactly what this world quietly aches for, a soul that still remembers how to feel. I see more than I speak. And that unsettles people who only feel safe behind their masks. There's something in your stillness that shakes the insecure, an unshakable calm, centered and grounded, that can't be faked. It doesn't chase attention. It commands it without a single word. It draws the real ones closer while exposing the shallow. You're not here to impress anyone. You've become the atmosphere itself. You move with a quiet certainty, never needing to shout your worth. When you speak, it cuts through noise like a blade of truth. Because your voice isn't trying to convince, it's rooted in knowing. There's a gravity to you that no spotlight could replicate, a sense of wholeness that comes from meeting every piece of yourself, even the parts others are afraid to acknowledge. You've met your shadow, embraced your light, and brought them both to the table. You've done the deep work, the kind that doesn't post updates or seek applause. That kind of work rewires your energy, and people feel it, even when they don't understand it. They trust you without knowing why. They confide in you without hesitation. Because you aren't pretending. You don't gossip. You don't compete. You don't need the approval of the crowd because your soul never depended on it. And that's why your silence is louder than most people's noise. Your calm isn't passive, it's restrained power. You're not hiding, you're holding. Holding back because you don't need to prove what's already known. You've become a mirror, and mirrors are uncomfortable for those hiding from themselves. Some will see peace in you. Others will see everything they've buried. Either way, they feel you. Because you're not trying to be loud, you're trying to be real. And in a world addicted to filters and followers, realness is revolutionary. You've never chased fame. Popularity never meant much to you. Flashy titles and blue check marks didn't stir your soul. What you craved was purpose, depth, connection. You wanted the spark, not the spotlight. You wanted to resonate, not be recognized. You wanted your life to mean something more than just numbers on a screen. While others chase trends, you chase meaning. Because you were never born to be viral. You were born to be valuable. You'd trade 1,000 shallow moments for one deep connection. You'd rather shift one life forever than entertain a million for a second. You move with a vision burning inside your chest, a fire that no one else sees, but you feel it every day. A whisper from somewhere higher, telling you there's more. And even when you don't know what that more looks like, you keep moving toward it. That's not confusion. That's calling. You're not supposed to fit into every mold because you weren't made for the masses. You were made to shift the ground they walk on, to plant seeds, to leave behind echoes that outlast you. And one day someone will stumble across your words, your work, your presence, and it will change them. That's the mark of purpose. Quiet, lasting, unshakable. You see people, not the version they show, but who they really are beneath the script. You've said it more times than you can count. I knew this would happen. Something felt off. You weren't guessing. You were observing, absorbing. Your brain notices what others miss, the shift in energy, the pause between words, the smile that doesn't reach the eyes. You track patterns without realizing it. You're not psychic. You're just paying attention while everyone else is distracted. You pick up on what others ignore, and your body reacts before your mind catches up. You feel the lies even when they're wrapped in charm. You sense the motives no one says out loud. Your intuition isn't magic. It's the result of 1,000 silent studies, a lifetime of sensing what others don't dare to see. While everyone watches the loudest one in the room, you're tuned into the quietest. You were never meant to be oblivious. You were meant to protect your peace. And when you feel someone's energy is off, you don't hate them. You just take a step back. Because your peace is sacred, and your attention, it's earned. And if you're the kind of soul who questions everything, even yourself, then you know what it's like to live inside a mind that never settles. You're not lost. You're searching. You're peeling back layers, confronting truths, tearing apart lies you were taught to believe. You're doing the work no one sees, soul surgery. It's not overthinking, it's awakening. You've been asking questions your ancestors buried. You want to know who you are beyond the pain, the labels, the expectations. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's hard. But there's something beautiful about breaking apart what's false to find what's real. You don't crave peace that's built on ignorance. You want the kind of peace that comes from knowing, deeply, painfully, beautifully. Even if that knowing breaks you, even if it scars you, because you know deep in your bones that the truth is worth it. You reflect in silence. You grieve for versions of yourself you never got to be. You carry burdens that weren't yours, but you keep going because you're not here to stay asleep. You're here to awaken, to burn away the lies and stand fully in your truth. That's not weakness. That's power. And in all of this, you did something most people never find the courage to do. You faced your own shadow. You didn't run. You turned and looked it dead in the eyes. You sat with the darkness, the shame, the guilt, the heartbreak, the anger you were never allowed to show. And instead of denying it, you embraced it. You asked it what it needed. You listened. You didn't numb it. You didn't dismiss it. You welcomed it as a part of your story because you understood your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. And through that confrontation, you reclaimed your power. You stopped hiding from the parts of yourself that others told you were unlovable. And in doing so, you became whole. Not perfect, not polished, but real. You radiate a depth that can't be manufactured, a light forged in fire. And that light, it changes people. So keep going, keep being, because the world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more truth. And you, in all your quiet strength and unfiltered honesty, are the embodiment of it. That wasn't weakness. That was courage at its rawest. The kind that doesn't wear armor, the kind that bleeds but stands anyway. Not everyone understands what it takes to sit in silence while your thoughts scream, to hold space for wounds the world tells you to ignore. You didn't get here by pretending everything was fine. You got here by peeling back the layers, by facing the shadow in the mirror and choosing to stay. Every tear, every tremble, every moment you thought about giving up but didn't, those were the bricks you laid on the path to your peace. You didn't hide from the dark. You became fluent in it. You learned its language, its rhythm, and through it, you found yourself. You didn't amputate the broken parts. You welcomed them, sat with them, listened, because deep down you knew they weren't flaws. They were instructions. You weren't meant to fight the shadow. You were meant to fuse with it. That calm people see in you now, that stillness, it's not a gift. It's a scar turned into strength. You didn't just stumble into wisdom. You carved it out of suffering. You're not delicate. You're divine. You're not soft. You're forged. You earned your light by surviving your own night. You feel the world in ways others can't. Pain doesn't just pass you by. It enters you. You don't need to hear someone say they're hurting. You feel it like it's threaded through your ribs. The subtle shift in someone's tone, the quiet in their eyes, the tension they don't name. You catch it all. While the world rushes by, you pause. You notice. You absorb. And yes, it's heavy. It leaves you tired, raw, open. But you wouldn't change it. Because that ability to feel, it's sacred. In a world that avoids pain, you walk straight into it, and somehow, you find meaning inside it. People have misunderstood your depth, called you too sensitive, too emotional. But that's only because they've forgotten how to feel. You haven't. You still cry over beauty. You still ache for strangers. You still carry compassion like it's stitched into your bones. You weren't made to numb it. You were made to transmute it, to turn the ache into art, the weight into wisdom. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's a map. It leads you to empathy, to purpose, to presence. You don't just witness suffering, you become a sanctuary for it. Not because you have to, because you were born to. Your imagination isn't an escape, it's a portal. While others think you're drifting off, you're actually building, constructing futures in your mind, blueprinting realities with every vision. You don't fantasize to avoid life. You imagine to design it. You see what's not yet real, feel what hasn't happened, speak with voices from a version of you that already knows. That's not fantasy. That's spiritual technology. You've walked through dreams that feel more vivid than reality. And those dreams, they don't let you go. They call you, guide you, drive you, until step by step, vision by vision, they become your truth. Your mind isn't a distraction, it's a compass. You're not out of touch, you're ahead of time. Most people need proof before they believe. You believe before there's proof. You feel the shape of what's to come, and while others doubt, you design. Your silence is not emptiness, it's creation. Your solitude isn't loneliness, it's preparation. You've seen the future. Now you're just catching up to it. That's not daydreaming, that's prophecy. And you? You never had to demand attention. You led without permission. You influenced without trying. You didn't chase a spotlight, you became a lighthouse. People are drawn to your stillness, not because you shout, but because you vibrate with something ancient. You've stood in the fire of your own becoming. You've navigated the maze of identity, worth, pain. You didn't emerge bitter. You came out with clarity. You walk with a kind of presence that says, I've seen the dark, and I'm not afraid of it anymore. That's real leadership. Not the kind that performs, but the kind that transforms. You don't speak to impress. You speak to ignite. You don't guide from ego. You guide from experience. That calm you carry, it was bought with storms. That wisdom, paid for in quiet hours no one witnessed. People come to you when they're lost, not because you fix them, but because your energy reminds them they're not broken. You don't need applause. You need alignment. And every time you choose truth over approval, authenticity over image, you rise. You've never fit in, and that's exactly why you matter. Because you weren't meant to mirror the world. You were meant to reflect what is forgotten. You're not just a personality type. You're a signal, a reminder that presence is power, that stillness is strength, that sensitivity is strategy. You decode the unspoken. You read the energy in the room. You don't need a script. You just listen to your soul, and it always knows. You're not performing life. You're sculpting it. Every step, every choice, every vision, crafted with intention. You don't move for the sake of movement. You move in alignment. You don't scream for validation. You embody truth. And Carl Jung's legacy lives in you, not as a theory, but as a practice. You are the proof that intuition is intelligence, that emotion is evolution, that silence can be the loudest signal of all. So when the world tells you you're too much, too deep, too intense, smile. They're just not used to meeting someone who's fully alive, someone who remembers, someone who sees through the noise. You weren't built for boxes. You were shaped for expansion, for depth, for change. You were never broken. You were always rare. And now more than ever, it's time to live like it. Not to explain, not to defend, just to be. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more truth. It needs you, just as you are.